Caitlin Snow is part of Team Flash. She's also starting to develop feelings for Barry Allen. Well, in one universe she was, and then the time travel thing happened, and now I'm so confused. Hey, what's happening, gamers? I'm, of course, Kwing, and welcome to our Let's Play channel. Today, we're talking about Killer Frost, aka Crystal Frost, Dr. Louise Lincoln, and Caitlin Snow. Now, this minifigure is from a free update, and she's part of course, the Heroines and Villainous DLC that released yesterday. Okay, so here are her powers. They're pretty ice. She has ice projectiles. She can shoot a beam of ice, so like a straight line of ice, which is pretty cool, actually. I know the puns, it can't be helped. She also glides the way that Iceman did in LEGO Marvel. And people yesterday were like, how could you forget about Iceman, Kwing? Well, it's simple. I play hundreds of games a year. I can't be expected to remember everything about every past game that I played. Still, it's a wicked cool ability, and I like it. As for her origin, since to my knowledge, there's been 5 Killer Frosts. We'll just be looking at 3. Frost, Louise, and Snow. Okay, so Killer Frost first appeared in Firestorm number 3, 1978. And this girl was studying science stuff at the Hudson University. She also fell in love with Professor Martin Stein, who turned her down gently because he was married at the time. Later, while working on a project at the Arctic, Crystal is accidentally locked in a thermofrost chamber, and even though she survives, her appearance changes to what you see before you. Also, she's now a heat vampire, unable to live without sucking the heat from others. Freaky, I know, but that's what happened to the poor girl. Frost then renames herself Killer Frost and becomes a main baddie for Firestorm. Also, she now hates all men and goes on a manhunt. That's actually pretty dark, I shouldn't laugh at that. Eventually she's brought to justice and sealed away by Firestorm. However, like most villains and comic book bad guys, she escapes and causes trouble for everyone, including the Justice League. In a final battle with Firestorm in the 80s, she absorbs way too much of his power and dies. The League then bury her underneath the Hall of Justice, where she returns during Blackest Night as a zombie. Many years later, so when Dick Grayson's Batman. As for the 80s Killer Frost, so Killer Frost 2 is Dr. Louise Lincoln. She's actually the most famous supervillain to take up the identity. Out of respect for Crystal, Lincoln recreates the experiment her mentor did and became the second Killer Frost in 1984. She also became more of a Justice League villainous and assassin for hire than strictly just going against Firestorm, though she still blames Ronnie and Stein for her friend's demise. During the events of Batman-Superman Public Enemies in the 2000s, Frost is hired by President Lex Luthor to take down the duo, Dead or Alive, for $1 billion. This is where she also meets Mr. Freeze for the very first time, and instantly, they hit it off. Or so, poor Victor thinks. After being defeated by Batman and Superman, Frost goes off the radar and grid for a while and learns she has cancer. She also loses her powers for a time. After Ronnie Raymond explodes in Identity Crisis, a new Firestorm named Jason takes his place. Donning her civvies, Louise tricks Jason into curing her cancer and restoring her powers. And then she goes on a killing spree. After being deceived, Jason restores her cancer, which really wasn't very heroic, and I really didn't like that storyline. During 1 year later, faced with her mortality, Louise and Victor start a relationship and cause a ruckus in New York City to dry out Jason. So basically, Frost can have her revenge against the guy who gave her cancer back. After transporting Jason into space using some type of Star Labs gadget, she tries to drain the sun's energy and destroy the world, so she can, cure her cancer. So I feel bad for her in that respect, but it's still a little extreme. She fails, of course, and angered by this as Batman's taking Victor and her back to Arkham, Louise basically told Victor that she was just using him and has no feelings for him. Whether or not it's true or not, DC never clarifies, so it was just a revenge plot, and poor Victor was the pawn. And I really did not like that about the story, because it moved Victor away from his passion for Nora, even though, at the same time, Nora was a monster by this point, calling herself Lazarus or Lazara or whatever, and a being of immense heat. So it would kind of make sense that he would go for someone with a cold personality like his. Anyway, while on Prison Planet, Killer Frost becomes a member of the Suicide Squad until Everything's reimagined in the new 52. The next Killer Frost is named Catlin Snow, and she was introduced in June 2013. Her story's a lot more tragic than any other Killer Frost. Snow was just an ordinary nerd girl who worked at Star Labs. She was super bright, young, and a talented assistant for Dr. Louise Lincoln, so the previous Killer Frost from the pre-52. Both had been working on a new sustainable energy source, the self-sustaining thermodynamic ultraconductor engine, though Lincoln had an accident during its creation and died. Catlin, wanting to finish her mentor's work, actually finished the STU. However, she was attacked by her former colleagues who revealed they worked for Hive. They placed her inside the machine and turned it on. Catlin grabbed some wires frantically from inside the machine and plugged herself into the ultraconductor, transforming her body into a being of eternal cold. Calling herself Killer Frost, she then killed her former co-workers and left Star Labs for Pittsburgh. Now she's a heat vampire, unable to survive without draining the life force from others, which she hates. While in her hometown of Pittsburgh, she learns about a flame being called Firestorm. She is also able to sustain her life by fighting him, and she causes problems for him for a while, absorbing his energy. She then tries to create her own Firestorm matrix to cure herself, because she just wants to be human again. During the events of Forever Evil, Catlin does not join up with the crime syndicate and begins her search for Firestorm herself, so she can, get back to normal. She isn't really a good guy, but she's not really like a bad guy either, and she doesn't like the crime syndicate either. She only kills to live. Killer Frost had a big role in the Timverse, so the animated DC universe. She appeared in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited as an assassin for hire, which makes me think that this was, of course, Louise. She was also voiced by Jennifer Hale. Louise Lincoln appeared in Batman Brave and the Bold, and she played a vengeful ex-girlfriend of Coach Ronnie Raymond. Her appearance is similar to Crystal Frost, though, and not the other way around. Oddly enough, for Young Justice, Crystal Frost is Killer Frost, and Jennifer Hale returned to voice the character in Injustice Gods Among Us, who was, of course, Dr. Lincoln once again. As for The Flash, Catlin Snow is part of Team Flash. She's also starting to develop feelings for Barry Allen. Well, in one universe she was, and then the time travel thing happened, and now I'm so confused. After learning Ronnie was alive and well, Catlin, along with Dr. Wells, helped Ronnie and Stein merge together using some type of matrix, possibly the Firestorm Matrix, I don't know, which, of course, prevented a nuclear explosion for Central City, which is good. For the time being, they've broken up, though. It's unknown if Snow will become Killer Frost or not, but they do kind of have that dynamic between Frost, or Catlin Snow, and Firestorm, so I like that. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's it, that's all. Thanks so much for watching. In the comment section below, tell me what DLC character you would like to learn about next time. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until we meet again, God bless and happy gaming. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.